Aloha Collective, welcome back to the Bridge Between podcast. I am Sosa bringing you episode 4 with guest Goddess Rhonda. I know Miss Rhonda as Goddess Erika's fairy godmother, a woman of wisdom and medicine. She guided Erika during a deep spiritual remembrance that changed her life forever. Miss Rhonda speaks profound cosmic truth, dissolving all illusions, creating a bridge for all of us during this earth ascension process today. After watching her last video on YouTube, I could tell Miss Rhonda was down for the mission, to anchor heaven on earth. She is a woman of integrity and not afraid to discuss, quote, far out there topics like mystical creatures and aliens. In this episode, Goddess Rhonda gets raw with her emotional healing journey and the emotional obstacles she had to overcome in order to be the light she is today. From childhood religious trauma to being in an abusive relationship, she never gave up on herself. She is a true warrior. We expand the conversation to sex, magic, tantra, the goddess archetype, applying safe energy boundaries in our everyday lives, and wrapping up with a beautiful root chakra exercise. Before we get into the episode, I want to say thank you to the community for showing mad love and support. We know we've taken a break and we are so happy to see that you guys are all vibing with the content and really want more. We have our video podcast format on YouTube and you can tap into just audio on Spotify, Apple, Overcast, and more. Follow us on Instagram at thebridgebetween888 for updates. Enjoy our content. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe to our channels and platforms, or buy us a coffee at www.buymecoffee.com/bridgebetween. Now let's get juicy. Here's Erika with the card of the day. Enjoy the episode. Mahalo.
So today I'll be working with my Archer's Answers Oracle deck. And let's just get a message, a universal message for the collective. May this resonate with anyone and everyone who sees this, whenever they see it. Truth be told, this is a timeless message. Okay, so I see the message of let them initiate. So what I'm hearing from this is, for some people, this is just a need to be still. Like if you're looking for some sort of an answer right now, or if you are, whether it resonates with a person, or if you're just looking for answers in life right now, it just feels to me like there's a need to kind of just be still with yourself a little bit at this time and either let spirit initiate and show you the way, or if you're looking for like wondering, are they interested? Am I going to get the job? Do they want to work with me? Do they have feelings for me? Let them show you through actions and initiating that conversation, or initiating through actually doing things to show you these answers and the path to going along the way. Because too often we try to like make the results happen. We try to look for specific signs and therefore make signs out of things that maybe were not necessarily for us. And sometimes we try to force conversations out of people, or try to force actions out of people, however it resonates. But right now, let them initiate. Let spirit show you naturally with you just being still and receiving. Let the people show you if they have that interest in you for that job or that opportunity, or if they want to be with you romantically. Let them initiate. You just be a goddess or the god that you are and relax. That's what I see.
Yes, I love that message. I definitely resonates for me. So, Goddess Rhonda, we're so honored to have you here on the Bridge Between podcast. And I just wanted to know, how did your spiritual journey start, and what is it like being a Black woman in the witch community today? And yeah.
Well, first, I want to tell you, I'm so honored to be here. I am extremely humbled by the beautiful words and accolades that you have given me. Thank you so much. But I'm still on a journey too. I wish I could pretend that I could sit on a crown with my atome and say, yes, this is the way it is. And sadly, I'm still climbing the mountain with y'all. So I will give you from my perspective with what I have been through thus far and what I have garnered through this life so far. As a child, I had to call on faith very early, but the faith that I was taught was not resonating harmoniously with my soul. And I actually experienced religious trauma as an empath, being screamed at from the pulpit by a minister screaming. Because back in the olden days, now, churches, from what I've seen on TV, because I haven't gone into a church except for a wedding for a long time, they used to literally scream hellfire and brimstone at you from the pulpit. And you have to understand how churches are set up. They have you sitting in the lower seats while they're up on a podium looking down at you with their special robes on. So they're already conveying, I am the authority here and you must listen to me, which is very different than the old days, which most people don't know, is that services used to be done with the minister's back to you because he was leading you to heaven. He was leading you to the word. But then the ego turned around, and then now it's like, this is the way it's got to be. And so as a child, as an empath, sitting in that little pew with this man screaming at me that God is an angry and jealous God, and you'll have no other God before him, and you're a sinner, and you're always going to be a sinner, and there's nothing you can do about it, and Jesus died because of you and your sins, and here I am, this little girl empath, with not only his words, but the vibration of the words, because there was always so much anger when they're screaming at you. So I'm like, oh my God, Jesus died, it's all my fault, I'm this horrible sinner, there's nothing that can save me, I'm just worthless, and this is terrible, there's nothing I can fix it. That actually impacted me because I am a very spiritual, psychically sensitive person. So I wasn't just listening to the words with a grain of salt, like, yeah. That vibration of those words affected me very strongly. And because of that, it took my self-esteem all the way down to the lowest level, because I felt like I was a worthless sinner. Jesus died, it's all my fault. And there's nothing really I can even do about it. They would even tell you, you're saved by grace, not by works. So that told me that even if I worked hard to do as best as I could, I still might not make it into heaven. So I would just keep trying and trying and trying and trying. And it wasn't until, and then I'm also dealing with my psychic abilities and being told that that's evil and that's wrong and that's of the devil. So now I also think now, because I'm psychic, that I'm evil. And I used to just get into churches that were more and more conservative and strict. I wore crosses. I was doing everything to get the evil out of me. And it wasn't what actually got me out of that very wrong type of religious feeling or spiritual feeling, because there is no spirituality in religion, really. It's a group of rules and laws, and you follow it or you're out. That's basically it. And so what happened was I was engaged to a part-time minister. Now, he wasn't a minister when I got with him. He was my brother's best friend. He actually used to be a drug dealer. And then one day he started going to this church, the Church of Christ. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. All of a sudden you're just going to start going to church. There's a girl there. There's got to be a girl there. You're checking out or whatever. So it's like, I'm going to see who this chick is that's making you get up on Sunday and go to church. So he's like, okay, come with me. So I got up and I went with him. And he did have a lot of girls flocking around him. They were actually shocked when he walked in with me. And so, but as I got in there, this was like the most conservative church I'd ever been in. And I felt this is the church that could really save me, because they're really conservative and they're strict. And my fiance was in there and he was a part of it and everything. But at the same time, my fiance, who started off as very nice, as most narcissists and abusers do, and before he started breaking me down, keeping in mind my self-esteem was already broken down by thinking I'm a worthless, evil sinner. And so it was very easy for me to be vulnerable to someone like that coming in and actually validating that same feeling. And so to the church, he was this great, wonderful guy, like most narcissists are. Everyone loved him. He helped fix people's cars, things like that. It's like when you see when they catch a serial killer and they ask the neighbors, what did you think about it? This guy living next to you found out he has 50 dead bodies under his grass. The neighbors will say, oh, He was the nicest person. He babysat my kids. He fixed my kid's bike. He did this for me. Nobody ever says, yep, I knew he was shady when he moved in. You could just tell by his, no one ever says that because these guys are brilliant at manipulation. Well, what had happened was his control got to the point where I really couldn't take it anymore. And finally, one day we got into a really big fight about it. And it was so bad. And I'm telling you, goddesses, this, because I want you to see where I came from, because there are other women in the same situation where it was easier for me if we were in a mall or a store to just look at the floor while I walked. Because if I looked at a guy, I was accused of I was going to sleep with him or be with him, or I wanted to be with him. So I would walk with my head down, staring at the ground. And one day we got into a really big fight. And I think we got into a fight over a Madonna song. It was something really stupid. And he opened the door and he pushed me out of his car. And that was, I didn't understand what emotional abuse was, but I did know what physical abuse was. And I said, that's it, we're done. You know, if you're going to do that, that's something I will not tolerate. So I got out of the car and I was very upset and he took off. My next door neighbor who I grew up with, there was no romance between us whatsoever. He's actually a bit older than me, had come out and he saw I was standing in my driveway and I was crying, so I didn't want to go in the house. And he came and said, what's the matter? And I said, you know, I had a fight. I broke up with my fiance and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, let's go get a drink and you can sit and talk with me about it. So he took me to a bar and I'm crying. You know, you're sitting there crying and oh, nobody loves me and blah, blah, blah. And he's just listening and trying to be supportive. So he brings me back home. We're sitting in his driveway. And I was like, thank you so much. And as I'm talking to him, he's looking past me, like at the window. I turn around. There is my fiance, literally with his face pressed, scared the crap out of me, had his face pressed against the window. So, you know, it's like smashing his nose. He's like, oh my God, scared the crap. So my friend, Kevin, he said, don't get out of the car. Do not get out of the car. Stay in the car. He'll go away. So he's yelling and screaming at me, calling me names, and he walks away. Keep in mind, I'm really drunk, okay? So he walks away. So it's like, okay, he's walking away. Then he turns around and comes back. And now I'm mad. So I jump out the car, ready to confront him with my drunk self. And he literally picked me up, threw me against the car, almost broke my finger getting the engagement ring off. And my friend, the guy, jumps out the car and says, hey, that's it, and goes to get him off of me. And my fiance took off running when he saw my friend get out of the car. And I lost every ounce of respect because you're going to attack me, but you won't attack a man. You won't defend yourself from a man. It was the most enlightening and disgusting moment of my life. And so after that, he then proceeded to go and tell the church that I was sleeping around, I was a slut, I was this horrible person. They all believed him. Nobody believed me, and the church shunned me. And they did me the biggest favor of my life. Because after that, it was very easy for me to say, you know what, screw this. I've always wanted to be a witch in the back of my mind. That's what I'm going to be. And so it was almost an outright rebellion that I actually embraced who I was and began my real spiritual journey. But that had a lot to do with it. I had to go through that in order to be where I am, in order to accept myself and to help other people who are dealing with that type of trauma. Because the message that they teach you in churches is so opposite of what Jesus said. Jesus said, I must go to my Father now, so you will go on to do greater things than me. Jesus was a magician. He turned water into wine. He walked on top of water. He fed the multitudes with one fish. He healed people just by, you could look at him and you were healed. He was a magician. He was a healer, and he was a psychic. They called them prophets back then. Prophet, psychic, same difference. So he was a psychic healing magician who said, I gotta go. I'm rolling now. My time's up. So now you need to pick up the sword and you need to get out there and use these gifts because you're going to do even more than I did. Somehow that message got lost. That is what you goddesses are doing, healing, helping, giving people prophecy so that they get a better insight and clarity on what they need to do to move forward. doing your healing work, sending out these messages, you are doing exactly what Jesus told you to do. You really are. So if anybody's a bunch of Christians up in here, it's us, because we're actually out there doing this stuff as opposed to being told, no, you can't do that. No, you can't be a psychic. You know, and the other thing that gets me with that, and it's in every nativity scene, you see the three they call them magi. Magi is short for magician. Three magicians came to Jesus while he was in a little baby and said, here are these gifts. Nobody
They
said,
don't want to talk
we
about
can't
it.
take your gifts because, you know, you're a magician. No. And yet they welcome that. So the message that they put out there is to control everyone.
Mhm.
But it is not the message that was intended, as he flat out said it. You are to go on to do greater things than me.
Mhm.
And that's when I understood the true message of what Christ was saying, as opposed to what I had been taught. But that religious trauma, and there's a lot of empaths who also are sitting there being told that you're useless, you're worthless, you're a sinner, or you're all these horrible things, and there's nothing you can do about it. And when you start telling a child that, that becomes a part of your life script. And that can affect every decision you make later on in life, your self-esteem and your self-worth.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, so that's how they get you. But that was, I would say, was the true beginning of understanding spirituality and what that meant. And I wanted to share it with everyone.
Thank you. I know we all resonate with a lot of that, what you just said, for sure.
All of it, all of it.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
And you also said, you know, about how now we're called psychics. Back then we were prophets. I know Raina kind of asked earlier, but I'm curious about this too, about as a Black woman in the witch community. I know a lot of the hot topic these days in our world is that they're trying to no longer use the word witch, for example, because it's a European term. But to me, and I say this all the time, it's like tomato, tomato, prophet, psychic, witch, and then whatever indigenous or African language says the same thing. To me, it's all the same. It's a matter of words. But I was just wondering your take and experiences of, on one hand, being a Black woman who identifies as a witch, and what is your view on using the term witch?
I like the term witch. I have no problem with it. People have to understand that being a witch is a practice. It's not a spirituality, and people get that mixed up. You can be an atheist witch. I can't quite understand how that works, but there are atheist witches out there. So all that means to me is I am an alchemist using energy to create something else. I have no problem with that word. I like the word. I don't have, you know, I know a lot of people, and this is something as a Black witch, it is a challenge because I've had to deal with people yelling at me for not embracing the African tradition religions or not doing this or not doing that. And I'm like, listen, I have already been every spirituality from my different lifetimes. I've already been Buddhist. I've already been everything. In this lifetime, I'm taking from everything that I have learned from all of my lessons and coalescing it, using my alchemy to make it work for me and to use it to help other people. You know, I don't believe in being limited by, oh, you can only say this and you can only say that. If that's what you need to learn in this lifetime, I'm not judging you. Some people need to learn a certain set of rules in this lifetime to help their soul evolve. And then in their next lifetime, they'll learn something else. We have to learn everything. In another lifetime, I was probably a serial killer. You have to experience everything in order for your soul to truly grow and evolve, because if you're going to become that guardian angel or that actual spiritual god and goddess in the other realms when you transition from this lifetime, you need to be able to understand everything before you can help everybody. I can't understand you if you're doing something, let's just say you're a drug addict and I'm not. Unless I was a drug addict, it's going to be very difficult for me to identify with what it is that you're going through. or what it is that caused you to be a drug addict in the first place. What trauma you went through is probably a trauma I had to learn about so that I can help you with it, because I've already been there and done that. So I'm not going to be limited. I've already learned about all this stuff in other lifetimes. This lifetime, I'm taking everything and bringing it to the masses. So there are very limited people that you can only do this, then you can only do that. That's what you need. If that's your thing this lifetime, rock on with that. But don't put that on me.
I agree with all that. Now you guys see where I get it from.
Yeah, we're not limited.
I love that.
I also just want to say thank you for being very vulnerable and sharing that from a very pure place of healing and what you experienced being raised around domestic violence as a child. That's what really shut me down from my gifts. And as you were speaking, I could just feel like my solar plexus and my sacral just being like, woo, like she did all this work in this area to really embody fully who she is today, but also the messages and everything that you learned all these lifetimes, and you're here to vocalize that. And that takes a lot of strength, because you have to get over, or not get over, you have to work through those moments of depression, those moments when you felt completely isolated, those moments where you were ostracized and people called you names. And that's a lot of strength, Rhonda. So thank you so much for really doing the work, because I can see that if you work through that, you embody and are a pure light that we really need to really hold us and guide us. So thank you so much. Yeah, that was very admirable. Thank you.
No, actually, thank you, because I do know what it's like to grow up in an environment of domestic violence, being raised by someone who had mental challenges and emotional challenges. You know, I've said it before, my mother had brain tumors. And once even when they took them out, you know, it affected her frontal lobe. And so being the caregiver of someone who was mentally ill and was more likely to strike out than to comfort and nurture it, it's your mom. You know, even just growing up with all of that, I had a lot of lessons. And I know it's my fault. I know I said when I was creating my life script for this lifetime, because I know how I am, so just let me get it over with. Just give me everything. I just want to get it all over with. So they're like, okay, ding. I regret those words now, but it is what it is. So they're like, okay. And they just threw everything on. But I can understand that. But that is also, and that's something I'm actually glad that you brought that up. Because one of the things that creates a challenge with is when you are raised in that type of violent type where you never know what's going to happen from day to day, is you end up walking on eggshells all the time. And then what that does, it promotes something called adrenaline addiction. And it's something I have had to deal with my whole life, and something I've been teaching other people about. So what adrenaline addiction is, it doesn't mean that you want to jump out of an airplane or play chicken with an 18-wheeler coming down the street. What it means is you have been subjected to a prolonged period of stress, especially when you're a child. And when you're under that stress, your adrenaline starts pumping with the fight or flight, either fight back or run. When you're a child, you can do neither. So that energy has nowhere to go. And so what happens is adrenaline is actually epinephrine and dopamine, and it's extremely addictive. So you start running literally on adrenaline because your body needs it now. Your body has become its own drug dealer. And so a lot of people, because your body will constantly flood with adrenaline, or you will seek circumstances that will make you flood with adrenaline, high-risk behaviors such as drug addiction, alcohol addiction, cheating, sexual addiction. These are all high risk, but they're symptoms of adrenaline addiction, which wants that risk to keep the adrenaline pumping. So you may find yourself in bad relationships all the time because of the drama. We call them drama junkies, drama queens. They want that drama. What they really want is their adrenaline flowing, because now they are addicted to it. And so you can also get to be subject to very high anxiety panic attacks. You can be sitting there watching Netflix, chilling out. All of a sudden you feel what I call the freight train coming, where this anxiety comes over you. Like, where is this anxiety coming from? And then it can go into a panic attack as your heart's pumping, you don't understand what's going on. When really it's just your adrenaline saying, oh, 3 o'clock, time for my fix, whoosh, and it brings it up. And so that's another thing that people in your situation, Goddess Sosa, can become adrenaline addicts, because I'm an adrenaline addict because of what I went through as a child. And I have to consciously keep focused and keep my anxiety levels down. It also causes attention deficit disorder, because you're always like this. You're all over the place because you need that adrenaline pumping. And that can really hurt us, especially as women, because it can lure us into relationships with men or women, who, whatever your choice is. It can lure us into relationships that are going to keep that adrenaline running, no matter how unpleasant that relationship is.
Yes, and I want to, wow, yes, all of it is accurate, on point. And it reminds me of why I'm dedicated to work with children, because of what I experienced. Because I remember being as a child, I could not concentrate. I could not take in anything. And so much so that I was put in special ed classes all the way through high school. And it wasn't because of that. It's just because how could I really take in something in school when my mom is getting beaten up, or my brothers are beating up on me, or there's drugs and alcohol and abuse, or even just the men around that neighborhood just catcalling and saying things to me that as a young child, I was like, why are you looking at me like that? That's really confusing. But yeah, and I also feel like because I was so hypersensitive, I took on the shadow realm. And so I lived in this shadow realm for so long. Now at 33, I'm able to alchemize that and know how to work with the shadow realm. But now I'm coming from a place of, which I know you understand, of like bringing that light in to open up the way for all of us who have been through that, and the suppression we've experienced, and those that came before us, and the suppression that they experienced. So for me, it's like, it's an honor to have these conversations, to meet like-hearted people who want to see this shift, because we're alchemizing that for all of collective. It's like we're dissolving it within our hearts, but it's like for the whole entire collective. So thank you for sharing all those healing words. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Because I do want people, a lot of people are adrenaline addicts and they're not aware of it. And I think it's important for you to understand that a lot of the things that people are doing is not the core problem. The core problem is you're trying to bring your adrenaline up. So you've got to have something going. Even if it is unpleasant, you'll do it. And to recognize that can really, really help. And the other thing I did want to address here while we're talking about women and the goddess energy is something that actually occurred to me. It was an epiphany that I had a couple of years ago when, you know, in the olden, I call it the olden days because I'm 59. So there's a lot of difference with what's going on now. And
ooh, Miss Goddess Rhonda looks amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
59 where? Never seen it.
Yes.
That's eternal youth right there. Eternal youth.
Thank you. Thankfully, you know, the goddess energy flows through me. That's all I can give it as an excuse. But I was noticing, you know, nowadays, which I'm actually glad, the younger ladies, they're not afraid to show like their bodies. You know, I look at Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and all these girls, and they're up there, you know, I was watching, I don't know what show it was, and Megan Thee Stallion like Max spanked her own butt and grabbed it like, yeah, look at this. And I was like, wow, these ladies, these young goddesses are no longer ashamed of their bodies and the power behind them. Because if you think back again to Adam and Eve, when God said, or that particular God, because the God in the Old Testament is actually a very angry war God, that is nothing to do with the divine masculine that I associate with. But the Old Testament God, when he said, oh, you know, how come you guys ate from the tree of life? At least Eve owned up to it. At least she's like, this deer, it looked good. I ate it. Sorry about that. Whereas Adam, who I call the first man who refused to take responsibility, oh, well, she made me do it. She hadn't offered. It's all her. It's on her. It has nothing to do with me. It's because of her that I ate that. It's not my fault. But he's the first example of a man not taking responsibility. Eve is our first example of a woman being ashamed of her body, because when she ate that fruit from the tree of life, the first thing she's like, oh my God, I have no clothes on, and covered herself up. She was ashamed that she had nothing on. Whereas Adam was over there defending himself. Yeah, because he wasn't like, oh crap, my thing's hanging out here. Has anybody got some leaves or something I can cover it up? He wasn't even concerned about it. Didn't mean anything to him. First thing Eve did was, oops, I'm ashamed. I'm showing my body. That is a very deep self-conscious, subconscious message that is put into young girls when they hear that about shame over their body. Because we forget, the men would like us to forget the power of the vajayjay. Let me tell you something. That's why they make you sit. Women are supposed to sit with their legs closed, because we emanate power from our sacral chakra. If we were to go into a room with a man and sit with our legs open like they do, because they sit with their legs open, they're projecting their power. They don't want us to project ours, so like, close your legs. Open your legs and watch the room, the whole energy of the room change. The men have killed, people have died over the power of the vajayjay. Kingdoms have been lost and won because of the power that we carry. And they want us to cover it up, hide it, and be ashamed of it, when actually it is a huge source of power. And I'm not just saying, go out and use your sexuality, control and manipulate. I'm saying energetically, there's a huge source of power that we have in our sacral chakra. The ability to create the life that we want, the ability to create life in the form of children. We have tremendous power, and that's always being subjugated. So when I see these young girls out here, it's like, yeah, these are my boobs. So what? That's right. Look at my butt. Isn't it nice? You like that? I'm like, good for you, goddesses. Let's keep that going. Let's not be ashamed, because when I was growing up, you were taught to be ashamed of your body. You wanted to cover up your boobs. You had to wear a skirt that was below the knee. You didn't want to be a bad girl or be, nice girls didn't dress like that. Nice girls did this. Nice girls did that. And what they're really doing is saying, subjugate your power. So I'm just so proud of your generation that's coming in and changing all that. And I just give applause, because I think that is dope.
Yes.
Yes. Well, since we're on the topic of sex, one of the things I like to talk about is the importance of being, more so for sensitive empaths and psychics and powerful women who are in touch with their magic. Sex magic is one of my favorite topics, and also spiritually sexually transmitted demons also is another one. So I would love to hear, I know I have learned a lot from you about these matters, but I would love for you to share for people that are unaware, about either of these or both of these subjects, and why it could be really important to be selective of who you share your sexual power with.
Okay, this is something, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, because there's a lot of people that have asked me, since my husband passed away 15 years ago, I sporadically tried dating. I'm a New Yorker, but I'm living in the mountains of New Mexico now. And I just really haven't found anyone that resonates with me spiritually. And so, but there are so many women like, you have to have a boyfriend. You have to have this. Don't you just want to have sex with somebody? It's like, no. Sex is not a physical thing for me. It is, whose energy am I inviting into my body? That's important. Do I want toxic energy in my body? If you're an angry, controlling person or a wimpy person, something that's not resonating with me? Absolutely not. My soul lives in here, and I will defend it ruthlessly. So if that means I don't get to have sex again for 3 more lifetimes, that's the way it works. because I will not invite bad energy into my body. And this is where we as women have to be particularly careful, because we are the receivers of the energy. When we're having sex with a partner, we are sucking that energy up. And a lot of times, even after the person that you've had sex with goes, you can, and it's not just gender specific, by the way. If you are the receptive person in that partnership, where you're the empath and the other person is more of a projective type of person, you're sucking up whatever emotional challenges they have, whatever mental challenges they have, whatever spiritual challenges they have. And a lot of them will come to you. I have to kind of, as an aside, explain to you, a lot of us empathic and psychic women are also of the fertility goddess traditions that have been lost. And when I say fertility goddess, the fertility goddesses and gods, when you think of them, you think in terms of babies or having a baby or something to help you get pregnant. That was not their primary purpose. Yes, they did help you to have children, because back in the olden days, they didn't have money. So your prosperity was based on how many crops you could bring in to feed your family. So if you only had 2 kids, you could only work, maybe a smaller plot of land, where if you had 10 kids, you would actually be able to work a larger plot of land. However, what they actually did was they took their sexual energy and they put it into the earth, so the earth would be fertile to feed the people. And so we as women taking our sexual energy and putting it into the earth to heal it and cause more life and things like that is something that we are trained to do. We also, though, because we were also the priestesses of those fertility goddesses, the fertility goddess priestesses would have sex with warriors in order to fuel them up to go into battle. And then we would have sex with them when they came back to heal them up from the battle. It was considered a very high honor to be in that position and to use your sexuality, your sexual power to fuel up the guys, heal the guys, put the energy into your, we have a tremendous amount of sexual power. Well, what happened was that the Akkadians and the more patriarchal spiritualities came in, and especially the Akkadians in the time of Inanna in Samaria, they came in and took over everything and forced the priestesses. And by the way, those priestesses were called Hars, which is very close to whore. They were called Hars, but it was an honor to be a Har, because you were using your sexual energy to change the world, to help the world, to do all these things. Well, when these guys came in, these other soldiers came in, they forced those priestesses to have sex with them and then threw coins at them or whatever, like, oh yeah, hear this. And then that's when everything changed and it was looked at poorly. But we come from that, where we took our sexual energy, we put it in the earth. We used it to heal people. We used to fuel people up. We used that power. And so now, from this aspect of where we are now, I don't want someone, I represent that energy. I use that energy. I put my sexual energy into the earth. I put my sexual energy into my plants, into healing and everything, because it's an extremely powerful energy. I don't need someone coming and compromising that energy. I've already been there and done that with my partners from before my husband, taking on that horrible energy that they had and then wondering why I don't feel good, why I can't get anything done. And meanwhile, they're up and feeling, oh, I feel so much better, me, I'm like, oh my God, but you don't know anything when you're young. What do you know? Now I know. And so it's very important as spiritual people, spiritual women, to ask yourself, whose energy am I bringing into my body? Because if you want to do some form of sex magic or use that power to manifest something in your life or someone else's life, if you're using it, you could have cleaned your chakras and be all powered up and ready. But if you're using someone whose energy is not harmonious with yours, or who still has a lot of trauma and crap going on, All you're doing is you are toxifying your own sexual energy, which will then compromise the efficacy of your magic. So you have to be very, very careful of whose energy you're bringing in your body. And if you feel like when you first met this person, it felt great, but then all of a sudden it's not feeling good, we need to clean that energy out of our bodies immediately.
Mm-hmm.
That is really important with sex magic.
Yeah. And I also know too, one of the things you had taught me was that one of the signs of dealing with a partner that doesn't resonate with you and your energy is if you keep getting infections over and over. And I don't just mean like a STI, but this could be bladder infection. This could be BV, things like that. Those are a lot of signs that something's going on with your sacral chakra. And I learned that from you a long time ago. Yes. And definitely resonates true with experiences of the past that I call research.
But I love that research. I like that. And you are right. There is a challenge. There's a lot of people that do have a lot of bladder infections and things like that are constantly going on. And it's actually because there is a challenge with the sacral chakra area. Now, what's very important to remember about the chakras are, each chakra is attached to an auric body, and your sacral chakra is attached to the emotional body of the aura. So when you're just caught up emotionally over some person who's treating you badly or whatever, or they've got, bad energy that they've put inside of you, or they're making you feel badly, if they're hurting your emotions, they're emotionally unavailable, whatever it is, that will translate into a sacral chakra symptom because it represents the emotional body of the aura. So if your emotions are all out of whack over some dude or some chick or whoever it is, you can have a real serious sacral chakra problem. And what's really important, and I want everyone to remember this also. Now, I don't want everybody to say, oh my God, I'm never going to have sex again after listening to Goddess Rhonda. I'm merely pointing out to you that also when you are engaged in physical intimacy, your chakras are lined up with that person. Mm-hmm. So whatever they're projecting out of their chakras, and keeping in mind that each chakra represents part of the aura, if your solar plexus is pressed up against that person and they've got a lot going on mentally, or mental challenges going on, or they just got a lot of stress, your solar plexus represents the mental body of the aura. So you can be infecting yourself spiritually, not just through the sacral chakra, but your aura bodies are also being infected. And then you've just got this widespread infection that's just flowing through, and it just can really jack you up. Stop thinking in terms of sex as, I just got to get with someone, I need some relief. That's why the goddess created dildos and things like that. If you need that, there's plenty of stores where you can go and you can take care of yourself, or just use the hands that the God and Goddess gave you to do it. You do not have to go and hook up with somebody who may infect you and make your challenges even worse than they were before.
Yes, I just had to give that a clap too, because I don't know if you've ever heard of, I watch another goddess. Her name is Adenola the Oracle on YouTube, but she called it I think she called it, I don't want to say it wrong, but it was basically like a sexual energy bank, and how if you are continuously giving your energy away, it will affect your money as well, because it's taking from your energy, which also money's energy. And so if you notice that your money is like depleting with you dealing with certain people, you're probably dealing with somebody who is just using that life force energy from you. And I'm not saying exactly like her, I'm kind of like paraphrasing, but it just kind of reminds me of all that as well. So, and again, like you said, it's not to tell people, oh, don't ever have sex. It's just be more mindful. Well, the spirit degree is the big old honk outside.
Yeah,
just be more mindful.
Like,
Yes, they were
right.
like, I received that message.
That's right. It's true. You do. You just have to be a little careful. Now, this can also be hard for women who are of the fertility goddess tradition, because like myself and many of those women, and I'm putting it all out here now, not to give you guys TMI, because I think it's important for women to understand what's going on with them. So there are a lot of the fertility goddess natured women who use their sexual energy to heal and help and create and manifest and do all these things will often suffer from something called persistent sexual arousal syndrome. And what that is, it means you're literally always sexually aroused. No matter what you do, there's nothing you can do about it. And it's actually it can be very debilitating if you don't move that energy, excuse me, out of your sacral chakra and circulate it so that it's not just concentrated, because it's very difficult almost to do anything because it's a constant reminder. And so a lot of those women will engage in they'll say, oh, well, I'm a sex addict. You're not really a sex addict. You just have a lot of power down there that you need to be putting into the earth or sending it out to heal, do something with it. Otherwise, it's just sitting there and it needs to be utilized. And so a lot of women will say, well, I'm just so turned on. I gotta just have sex with someone. I'll find somebody. I need to have sex with somebody. When that's really not what you need to do. What you actually need to do is to focus that sexual energy, that sexual arousal towards a cause that you have. If you want to stop the fires in California or use it to clean the water so people can drink the water and have water to drink, or put it into the earth so the earth will be fertile in countries where they may not have food. There are things you can do with that energy. That's what you're supposed to do, because that's what we as fertility goddesses did. That was our source of power, and that's what we used to do things with. But a lot of women don't know that. And so they don't understand what's wrong with them. It's a source of shame. They don't want to talk about it with anyone, when actually what it is you are of the fertility goddess nature, where you used your sexual energy to create your magics. And so you constantly have to send that energy out to do something. Otherwise, it will just ball up, and then it can actually translate into like fibroid tumors and things like that, because it's a bunch of energy that's got nowhere to go, and literally it'll start hardening up. There's nowhere to go. So if you are listening and that is one of your challenges, where you feel like you are just constantly turned on all the time and you don't know why, what your problem is, you don't have a problem. You have power, and you need to take that power and you have to use it for something. Send it to the hospital in your neighborhoods. I'm sending all this sexual energy to the hospital to create good health for people, to heal them, to heal the COVID situation, whatever it is, use that energy. Otherwise, it can cause you to get involved in toxic sexual relationships, if that makes sense.
All the sense.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that ancient knowledge with us, because I definitely feel that as women nowadays, they don't know, like you said, because younger women are becoming more powerful and embracing their bodies and embracing themselves. I think that because they think embracing themselves means, like you said, using their sexual power in a manipulative way. And thank you for, opening our eyes to that. I just wanted to ask, what are your tips and tricks for someone that has found that divine partnership? What did how would you use your sexual magic with, a divine partner, and what you do, or, just what's things to look for or things to try once you do feel like you have that good, right partner?
Okay, well, first thing you want to do is make sure that this really is the right partner. And that might take time for you to figure that out. Because, when you first start dating, everybody's on their best behavior. Everybody makes sure they look good, got their perfume on, looking good. And then, as time goes by, the real us starts to really, come out. So you do want to make sure that that person is the right person before you start that type of tantric relationship. And I just want to say, because a lot of people think Tantra means sex, it does not. It is about a connection. You can have tantric sex with someone and never touch them just by engaging and weaving your energy in with theirs. So the physical part is more of an icing on the cake. But a lot of people have gotten into very serious trouble by saying, I want to try tantric sex, and it's supposed to be the greatest sex in the world. And then they energetically tie themselves to someone and someone's energy that they can't get rid of after that. So you have to be very careful that this is the person that is that divine partner. Once you have that wonderful divine partnership, there's a lot of things that you can do with each other. But still, just because you have a divine partner doesn't mean that your chakras and your aura is ready to have that type of sexual experience. You need to make sure you're cleaned up completely. You know, when you're doing, a lot of people, they like me every morning, usually every morning, before I roll out of bed, I light bulb my chakras, I light bulb my auras, get myself energetically ready for the day. But that's not really enough when you're dealing with Tantra or the Kundalini kind of energy. Because if, you know, doing a quick light bulbing is great, but if I've got some serious challenges actually going on within my chakra and my aura system, that can actually, bringing in that type of sexual power can actually enhance the problem that's going on. It can make it worse. So you can have wonderful feelings for this divine partner. You know you're supposed to be together. You know you're going to be together for the rest of your life, and there'll be no other person for you but this person. But if you guys are still energetically not up to where you need to be, then engaging in sexual magic is not a good idea, because you can actually make matters worse for yourself, because you're unleashing all this energy through the chakras and the aura. And if that energy is blocked, it can become very painful. If you've got a lot of emotional things going on and that energy shoots through it, it can actually exacerbate that energy. My suggestion is to use your sexual energy to cleanse the rest of your chakras, to get them ready, to heal yourself up, because a lot of people don't self-diagnose and see what's wrong with them. They're just like, oh, I'm just going to clean my chakras up and now I'm balanced. Yay, I'm fine. And it doesn't work that way, because all of the traumas that you have faced throughout your life are stored up in there. So the first thing you want to do before you even consider having that type of magical connection is to do some self-diagnosing on your chakras to see what the heck is going on with you. And so we're going to do a quickie little exercise for you goddesses, and you can just try it yourself because I want you to know how to do it. So I would like for you to take your palms and put them on your root chakra, your lower back, right above, there we go, right above the tailbone. I want you to close your eyes. And I don't want you to focus on your root chakra. I just want you to be aware of it. Just be aware of your root chakra, lower back, above the tailbone. Just be aware. And now I just want you to gently let your mind slip inside of your root chakra and make a note of whatever you see or feel, any vibrations, anything at all or nothing at all, whatever it is. Just take a second to do that. Explore your root chakra, have a look around. Okay, take your hands away and open your eyes and tell me, you know, if you choose to share what you have seen or experienced or felt or anything at all, if anything at all.
Well, I kind of saw like the static on a TV, like when you first turn it on. And then I don't know what it's called, but you know how some people have on their desk those little marble things and they go click, click.
Yeah, I know those.
I saw that. I have no clue what it means, but that's what I saw.
I was like a newborn in like a wave pool, and I was getting messages of like this whole like washing and clearing of what I thought my foundation was. I'm now giving birth to something new, but it was like I couldn't see the end of this wave pool I was in when I was in my root chakra just now. It was really good. Thank you for allowing
That's
us
very
to see
interesting
that.
if you're a Sag. It's very
I'm a
interesting.
Cancer rising.
Also, that's why, because you're Cancer rising. So you're coming into your water, hence living on all these islands and needing that water for your fire. That's good. It balances you out. That's not a good thing. I mean, it is a good thing. It's not a bad thing what you saw, the wave pool, because it's telling you your life force energy is fed by water. And so one of the things that you want to do is when you're taking a shower, or something like that is to actually see the water as red. I take rainbow showers where I see all the different colors in there, but you can actually focus the red water, or take a bath and get some red food coloring and put it into your bath water to absorb that into your root chakra, because your root chakra is telling you, this is what I need. I have to have this. Now, Goddess Erika, with your static, the thing is when those things that sit on the desk, you don't really see those anymore with the thing and it goes like this over and over.
Yeah.
When people do that, they do that because they're bored. It's like, oh, I think I'll do this. And then they just sit there. So what your root chakra is telling me is time to take things to the next level because it's bored.
Period.
It's bored. It's like, yeah, we're just going to sit here and watch this because what else is there to do?
I saw
Yeah,
Time to step it up. And what about you, beautiful Goddess Rhonda?
Okay, so I saw at first, I saw that it like darkness, and I saw the roots of a tree, and then I kind of saw some cut down trees, and then I saw big trees, and I was kind of like in a dark, very tall forest, and I saw lots of trees, and then I started feeling heat. My hands started getting hot, and then like I started feeling heat. Like they know that I'm a hot person. I always get hot whenever I do any type of energy work. So I felt the heat
So much
inside the
heat.
forest. Yeah, so much heat. I be burning people. But I saw lots of tall trees. But it was funny because I saw cut down trees at first. Like it was like showing me from the roots up a couple cut down trees, and then it's panned to like a whole forest of trees. So I was like, and then the heat. I was like, okay, interesting.
Well, heat is energy. So that means you do emanate a lot of energy from your root chakra. And also because you are in the dark. A lot of people, they look at the dark as something as a bad thing, when actually the dark is the source of life. When you think about it, children are conceived in the dark of the womb. A caterpillar turns into a butterfly in the dark of the cocoon. We plant a seed in the dark of the earth where it's nourished, and then it springs upward. So the dark actually represents creation energy. And so you've got a lot of creation energy going on in there. But the fact that you're also seeing trees are very phallic symbols. It means you're basically also a warrior. You've got a lot of that energy that you could kick butt if you need to and get in somebody's face if you need to. That is a good thing because we need people like you to fight for the underdog. And you carry that energy. And the fact that you get hot like that, trees are also wands. They're just giant wands. They emanate energy. They emanate oxygen. They emanate life. You are a walking wand. So you have to be very careful because you can manifest things you didn't intend to manifest that may not be the best thing for you just by sending your thoughts out there. You have to be ultra, ultra careful of what your thoughts are and what you're sending out there because you're a walking wand.
Oh, facts. Like I was just talking to my aunt yesterday about these nuts that I wanted, and this guy called her and was eating the nuts that I wanted. And I was like, "What? Like, how is that?" And I just noticed all these trees in my background. So
That's right. Look at all the trees there that you've got. So you've got a lot of power and you need to actually get into that and see how you can utilize it. But you also have to be very careful of the energy that you are transmitting. You're a transmitter. So you want to be careful. So that was the first part of the exercise. Now the second part of the exercise, put your palms back on your root chakra. Okay. And I want you to close your eyes again, bringing your attention to your root chakra. And now I want you to imagine a beautiful red light forming right in the center. And now it's growing and growing. A beautiful, gorgeous red light of vital life force energy flowing into your root chakra. Beautiful, beautiful. Red, 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 red. Your whole lower back is just glowing with beautiful red, 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 red light. And I want you to imagine placing a gorgeous red gemstone right in the center of your root chakra. And it is just glowing and streaming beautiful red light, filling it up with this gorgeous, gorgeous red, 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 red light. And then I want you to place a lotus, a beautiful red lotus, over your root chakra to keep that energy safe and flowing and alive, the beautiful red lotus of life. And then open your eyes, put your hands together and say thank you. There, how's that feel?
My lower back feels better.
There you go. And so doing that, self-diagnosing what's going on with your chakras before you fill them with the colors will let you know, oh, hey, this is going on. Oh, hey, that's going on. Let me fix it. Let me fix it. Let me fix it. And then you have to flush out your aura as well. So when you're putting in the color into your root chakra, you're also flushing out the etheric body overlay that covers you. And it'll go through the rest of your stuff. But first you have to know something is wrong with your chakras. You have to see what's the challenge. And you can also do that with your partner, or you and your partner can do that for each other. Sometimes it can be difficult to self-diagnose, but if you've got a divine partner, you can do that for each other and say, hey, this is what's going on. Let's fix this. Let's fix this. And then once you're all fixed up, then you can have that and have an awesome, wonderful, magical sexual experiences because you're cleaned up, the energy is flowing, and then you can really engage in it. But if you don't clean yourself up thoroughly first, it can actually maybe not be the greatest experience that you wanted, or you could take on, if your partner has an emotional or a mental challenge or spiritual challenge, you can actually take that on, and it can hurt. If you're doing sex magic, it can hurt your magical intentions. But if you're just doing that to engage more fully, to become that true sexual partner, where you actually combine the divine feminine and the divine masculine together to create life and send out that life to create the life that you're trying to create. If it's wealth, if it's happiness, if it's healing the world, or whatever it is, you want that pure energy coming together. So first, people need to clean up first. It's not enough. I've talked to people and I'm like, well, I declared sacred space and then it's like, that's not cleaning yourself up. The sacred space needs to be in here. So that's very important. So with all that said, now once you're all cleaned up, then you can do some very amazing things and have wonderful sexual intimacy together, because now your chakras and your aura bodies are nurturing and nourishing each other and fueling each other up in harmony. That's what we want. So that's the first and most important step. Clean yourself up and make sure your partner is cleaned up, and then engage.
Thank you for that exercise. As you were finishing off, I felt a little bit of drizzle come through. Oh, there it goes. So I feel like Yemaya, or Mother Earth, is really connecting with us as we all welcome in these new timelines for us to fully step into our full divine purpose of being here. And as we wrap up this episode, where can people find you? Because I know there's going to be people who are like, how do I book a session with her? What is that like? What do you provide? How does it work? Tell us a little bit about your practice, where they can find you, and anything else that you want to share as we close out.
Okay, so as far as where you can find me, if you just put in Goddess Rhonda, my YouTube, my website, everything will come up. So you can find me, contact me through my website, Goddess Rhonda on Facebook, Goddess Rhonda on Instagram. There's lots of ways to get to me. And what I do, I think with my practice, people have asked me, well, what's your practice mainly based on? And I had to really think about that, because I do a lot of different things with people, and it will be custom to who you are. But I think the main thing, my main gift, is getting to the source, the core trauma, or the core cause of what's going on, because a lot of people treat symptoms. They don't treat the core of what's happening. Now, that core might have happened in another lifetime. Maybe we need to do a past life regression to see what's going on. Or maybe it's because we, especially we as women, because we're pulled in so many places, we are not integrated. And so it can be very hard for us to function, because what most people don't realize is that at any given moment there is a war raging inside of you all the time. Your conscious mind will argue with your heart. Your mind might say, oh, you know what? This dude is bad news. We're just going to leave him alone because he just has made our lives miserable. That's it. We're done. And your heart might say, but we love him. We should give him another chance. He's not that bad. I don't want to be lonely. Let's give it another try. Usually the heart will win. The heart will override what your mind has said. Your intuition will fight with your logic, where your intuition might say, you know what? I need to be on the corner of whatever street it is on Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock. I don't know why. I just feel like I need to be there. And your logic is going to say, what are you, nuts? We're not just going to go stand on some corner because you think something's going to happen. What is the purpose of that? Why are we doing that? What are the facts? So there's constant battles going on inside of us. And what I like to do also is I harmonize everyone to get, just to give you kind of an example of that, and I'm watching our time, so this will only take a second for me to explain this to you, a couple of minutes to explain this to you. The right side of your mind rules the left side of the body, and that is your creation. Your left side is your divine feminine side. And the left side of the mind rules the right side. It's your logic. They do not get along. They don't like each other. They both are fighting for dominance. So what we have to do is I'm going to give you a quickie, simple, and you can tell me if this makes you feel better. It'll calm down your mind chatter and clear your mind. So I just want you to close your eyes for just a sec, one more time. And I want you to imagine that the left side of your mind is filled with beautiful sunlight. And the right side of your mind is filled with beautiful moonlight. So the left side is moonlight, the right side is sunlight. Now I want you to repeat after me. The left side of my mind loves, honors, and cherishes the right side of my mind. And the right side of my mind loves, honors, and cherishes the left side of my mind. And both work in divine harmony and balance for my well-being, my success, and my protection. Thank you. Sit for a sec. There you go. How'd that feel?
It was good. I was on mute, but it was good. I feel a lot better.
So getting in harmony with the warriors inside of you, because it goes deeper than the mind. It's some people, they have conflicting astrological, where their sun sign is in conflict. They may have a Pisces sun and a Virgo moon. That's conflict right there. They don't get along. We have to harmonize everything. And so I'm very good at bringing harmony to people to end the chaos going on in their life. And I also teach people how to be more psychic, how to actually use their psychic gifts based on what their custom gifts are. I love doing that. I just want to empower everyone. We are not helpless. We are able to achieve and do things based on the gifts that we were given, and I want everyone to know it.
Yes, she told me everything I know. And yeah, she taught me everything I know, and she's been my most trusted reader, other than if I'm reading for myself. For how long now? I don't even know how long now. Over a decade.
It's over a decade now.
Over a decade, and she's been right about everything. So
yeah, thank you so much for really guiding us through this process. And I'm sure a lot of people who will be tapping in are going to be feeling that wave of healing. Like even just 2 minutes of you holding space like that, like it's powerful. You're a very powerful being, and you really showed, you really testified of what could really happen when we choose to really work with our shadows, alchemize that to bring in the light, to really bring change in the world, because that change has to really start with us. And I always go back to that quote of like making the struggles work for you. How, like, why me? And now it's like, why not me? Now I have space for those people who have gone through that. And thank you. It was, I feel like we're definitely going to have more conversations with this.
I would love to. That would be awesome. And for all those who are saying, why me? I want you to kind of change that perspective on that, because this is a training ground. And so technically, the harder your life is, the higher level of spirituality you have attained. Because when we go through school, you know, we go through nursery school and kindergarten, elementary school and junior high and high school, every time we advance a grade, it gets harder and harder and harder. And so if you're dealing with hardships, it's because you're at that level where the universe has said, okay, throughout your lifetimes, you've learned, we've taught you, let's see what you can do. Let's see what you can do with what you've learned. So don't say, why me and why is this all happening to me? Because everything that has happened to me has made me the strong, powerful goddess that I am today, and I do it again. I would do it again. So think of it as a training ground. And if you have made it to that spiritual level, you can already overcome it because you had to get to this level. You can do it.
Yeah. We're definitely going to link everybody to your website, your Instagram. If they're watching this on YouTube, we'll have her information on there too. We'll definitely share her information on Instagram as well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Raina. Thank you, Erika, for also being open to have these conversations with all of us as we continue to just anchor in the divine feminine for the healing and the shift that we desire to see in the world. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, share with your homies. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Pocket Cast. I'm going to read the whole list because there's so many places for you to find us. Listen Notes, Player FM, Podcast Index, Overcast, which I like, Castro, Castbox, and Podfriend. And maybe one day, I'm just going to put it out there, I've always desired to have some sort of Gaia network with melanin folks. And so maybe one day we will have some sort of show to continue to call in like-minded individuals for these messages.